Today we'll be looking at the AirSelect Walker by Aircast. Aircast has designed these boots around the concept of functional management and keeping people moving. This boot is the market leader and has been for a long time, so let's explore why. So the first thing we look at is the shell of the AirSelect boots. You can see there's nice breathable holes through the anterior and posterior shells. There's also a contouring in the sort of supramalleolar region, and the reason for this is to improve the ML stability created from the boot. What you'll find by having this contouring is that the air cells inside don't need to be inflated as far to be able to maximally control movement of the ankle. And what this does is give us an optimal outcome for things like a distal fibular fracture, maybe a really bad ankle sprain, or even something like a syndesmotic injury where we're looking for that compression of the tib and fib together. So moving on from the ML stability, you'll look at the control of dorsiflexion. In terms of the boot, there's three things that we consider. The first one is having a high anterior strap that's pulling the patient back into the posterior shell. What we don't want is a patient who can actually dorsiflex inside the boot because the boot doesn't control them, and having that high strap gives you the leverage to control the patient. The second thing we look at is having a reinforced ankle, particularly in the anterior region. So you can see on this boot that it actually thickens through the anterior ankle. The idea behind this is that you don't want a boot that will deform under stress. So as the patient's rocking through, we can't have that boot actually fatiguing and stressing and deforming, allowing dorsiflexion again. The third factor that we look at is the rocker sole in toe off. And this contributes to how much stress is actually applied back up through the boot. So having a nice smooth progression through toe off is optimal to make sure that the boot's not working hard, the patient's kept immobilized in that sort of dorsiflexion plantarflexion plane. So a couple of other features about the rocker sole in the AirSelect boots. At the heel contact or at heel strike, we've got a shock absorbing heel. Internally within the boot, there's a little grid matrix, and this is designed to absorb the shock as well as a layer of poron that's placed underneath the insole. Again, this is there for all those impact related stresses to just make sure that we're dispersing them and we're not putting stress up through the bone. When you get to the midstance, they've done some studies looking at the height of the rocker sole at midstance and looking at hip height differential. AirSelect boots have been designed to optimize that, keep that mid-stance low, helping to maintain people's posture and a natural gait profile. Lastly, as I mentioned before, the toe-off phase of the boot has been shown to have a reduced knee hyperextension moment, meaning that people can smoothly progress as they're walking through the boot, optimally aiding them in a natural gait cycle. Another feature of the AirSelect boots, which is a little bit more unique, is the independent inflation system that we have. Independent inflation gives your patients the opportunity to really customize the fit of the boot and make sure that they're feeling security in there, comfort in there. It also aids with compression for swelling. Optimally, having a boot that's got independent inflation, each side and each cell is a closed circuit. So if it's inflated and somebody leans into it, it will actually support and hold the ankle. In a boot where the cells are connected, the air will just move from side to side and it doesn't actually support the ankle as effectively. In this particular model, the AirSelect Elite, it's actually got 4 cells or duplex technology. And this is unique to Aircast. What studies have shown is that there's 3 times quicker edema reduction through the duplex or 4 cells within the boot. The way that it works is to have overlapping cells, a higher amount of pressure distally and a lower amount of pressure proximally, aiding in flushing that fluid out. And what they've found is actually during gait cycle, you get almost a pulsing or a massaging effect through the ankle, which aids in reduction of edema through the boot. This is probably most helpful for your patients who are looking either for the optimal boot that's available on the market, particularly those who have got swelling in their ankle, either post-surgery or post an acute severe injury. Otherwise, if they're trying to return to elite sport or a high level of activity in a shorter period of time, being able to get the fluid out of the ankle quicker is going to give them a better outcome. So there's 3 boots in the AirSelect range: the Elite, which we've just spoken about with the duplex technology; the Standard, which comes with 2 cells, still independent, Not as good in terms of edema reduction, but from a stability and immobilization perspective, an excellent option. And the short version, which won't control your dorsiflexion, but for toe injuries, midfoot injuries, is often a sufficient boot and a little bit more comfortable to wear. In terms of sizing these boots up, they all run on the same sizing chart. Please just look at the shoe size of the patient and refer to the sizing chart in our catalogue. If you have any other questions, please contact your sales rep from DJO. I'm sure they'd be happy to help.